Welcome back, my friends, to where we will take the Spectre Orbiter 2.5 across the solar system, and I've decided to try to get an orbit around Laythe. So, we're going to undock and start planning our way there. Since we have our warp drive, we're just going to warp straight there. Normally for just regular transitions to, or transfers to other planets, we would wait until Jool is right about here. So if Jool stayed there, for example, Kerbin would need to be right over here. That way, when we start our Kerbin escape trajectory, the escape trajectory would then become, once we escape Kerbin, the orbit would look elongated all the way out to Jool, which would be out here, was where would be our intercept with Jool. But since we have a warp drive, we can just point towards the target and fire away. And I am a complete noob on traveling with the warp drive, so this is probably going to look pretty darn hideous to someone who might be watching, who is a veteran at doing warp drives here. Reactivate those nuclear engines and prepare for warp speed. Here we go, starting the warp engine in 3, 2, 1, go. Not going. Why isn't it going? Oh god, there we go. I was hitting the wrong button. So, here we go, right on out of the Kerbin system. Oh yeah, he's having a blast. We're now out of the Kerbin system. Exotic matter still charging up, that's good. The nuclear engine is able to charge it faster than it can use it. Now, I have no idea how this is going to work when we get there. I tried it once before, but as for how on earth I'm going to actually slow down, I don't know. Alright, we're coming up to Jool. I'm actually going to stop and readjust so that I can make a more equatorial . And there now we stopped. Now let's see what the orbit looks like. So it's orbiting me in the wrong direction. Why would it do that? Oh, probably because I went towards it from the opposite. Yikes. Well, I'm going to get this figured out, and I'll tell you about it when I return. Welcome back, and to a very worried pilot here. Yeah, so I have no idea what I'm doing. The reason why it's so difficult is because this warp drive that is in KSP Interstellar mod Um, when you use it, it keeps your momentum or your velocity. It keeps it from where you first started the warp drive. And I first started the warp drive around the orbit of Kerbin. The orbit of Kerbin is much closer to Kerbal, the sun, so things are moving much quicker. So as soon as I started the warp drive, I kept that velocity, that same velocity, which is like probably around 10,000, 11,000 meters a second. It's the same velocity that Kerbin orbits the sun. And I kept that velocity, and I came all the way out here to where things are much slower to the system of Jool. And I don't really know how to slow down other than to try to just do an aerobrake. And because if I were to just traditionally do a retrograde burn, it would be something like over 5,000 meters a second or something. I don't know, something absurd. Much more fuel than I have. Ignore that. I don't know why it's saying that. But this is the true delta V that this craft has. I used up just a little bit of fuel, I think. So this is going to be pretty much just a big test. I have no idea what I'm doing. If this doesn't go very well, I might just not even use the warp drive anymore, and I'll just get to places traditionally. And maybe when someday there's a another system within the galaxy in KSP worth traveling to using a warp drive, that could be feasible. But using a warp drive within just one system, especially one such as this that keeps your momentum of where you first used it, that's quite challenging because you still have to match velocities once you get to the orbital body in question. My periaps, I kept it at 101,000 meters. The atmosphere of Jool starts at 138, so hopefully this won't be too deep into Jool's atmosphere to where things break apart. There's a lot of pressure riding on Bill and Jeb to get this done. Bill, Jeb, and the other crewmen in here, whose names which I cannot remember. Here we go. Alright, now is the time to bring up the radiators. Oh boy, I've never done, this is a 13,000 meters a second aerobrake. Oh man, now we're 14,000 meters a second. We are just screaming. Oh man. God, it feels like we're gonna just drop right in there, but must trust the map screen. Oh boy, oh boy. This is gonna hurt. Oh god, here we go. We're still at less than 1 G. I'm not gonna keep those big air brakes out for long. When my G goes above 5, I'm gonna bring those big air brakes back in. Five, gonna bring them back in. There we go. I'm gonna actually try and pull some maybe. Keep it around 5. This is, I wish I could bring them out halfway, but I'll work with what we got. A lot of things to look at here. Constantly watching the G-force, constantly glancing at orbit speed. I don't want to stay above 9 Gs, or this is the most crazy thing I've done so far in Kerbal Space Program. Personally, I've never actually aerobraked on. Ooh, I might be able to keep them out here. Yes, I can keep them out. Okay. We're gaining altitude again. I'll keep those big air brakes out for as long as possible. I don't think we're going to make orbit this time. What I have done in the past is done an inverted. I was coming to Laythe, and this was the time that I came in at 8,000 meters a second upon Laythe. Is I came in inverted. The whole reason why I came in inverted was because the rotation, well, the curvature of the planet, the atmosphere is so thin that in order for me to actually enter into the atmosphere successfully and just not skip right off of it, is I had to go in inverted. Well, and what I did is I stayed below the velocity vector, or the prograde velocity vector. So I basically came in with a higher angle of attack, and that since I was inverted, instead of skipping off the atmosphere, it's kind of hard to describe, but I was able to turn with the curvature of the planet and stay in the atmosphere while I kept bleeding off all my airspeed. It was quite a sporty maneuver. It was before this, that was the most crazy thing that I've done. Well, shoot. Didn't quite slow down enough. Let's see what it would actually take to get into orbit successfully. Holy shit. It would take another 3,000 meters a second. I went from 14,000 originally down to 10,000. If I did another aerobrake, I might be able to achieve orbit. Well, let's give it a try. Oh, my lights. That's silly. Just do right here. And stand by for warp drive engage. We're going to do a quick save here quick. And boom. We'll stop. What's the periapse? 1 million. So now we're going to warp below to curve around the other side. Ooh, our periapse is inside the planet. That's not good. We're gaining all that speed again. I don't want to do that. Okay, 109 kilometers. We'll keep it. We'll use this to help bring it down. We're right at 100 kilometers from on my periapse here. Oh, 199 is fine too. Whatever. Could do an inverted. Do a quick save. And, should I do an inverted? An inverted aerobrake. Yikes. The question of the century. Bill and Jeb have to decide on whether or not that would be safe enough to execute. Still have to lose about 4,000 delta V, and we could burn off more if we did it inverted. We'll probably just stay at chase view while we do it. Oh man. Do I want to? Let's see. Let's see what it will take. Let's target Laythe, of course. So it'll take 4,000. Oh, geez. And it's counting up. Well, not quite, because it knows how much we're going to get. So we got to lose 4,000 by the time we get our periapps. Yep. It's going to have to be one of those inverted ones, gentlemen. But this is what Jebediah's known for. Crazy old Jeb. If he survives this, just think of the stories he'll be able to tell. Alright, quite high. I can do one more quick save, and then it's off to the races. Coming up on the atmosphere here. Both air brakes out. Gonna pulse the big ones, since those slow us down the most. We don't want to rip the wings off, and when we get above 9 Gs or roughly around there. Whew. Okay. This is the big moment. Can we do this? An inverted aerobrake to capture around Jool. I'm going to try to keep pulling up so we can stay with the curvature of the planet. I'm going to keep watching those G's, and I'm going to keep watching my apoaps. If it ever becomes positive, I am going to be very happy. Glad I have that maneuver node up. That way I can see my target meters a second for an intercept on Laythe. Keep watching those G's. We're doing good, gentlemen. Bill and Jeb are in full concentration mode. Well, full G endurance mode. Quarter way through our maneuver node. I'm still making control inputs. Come on. Trying to pull up hard. I'm pulled up all the way, trying to stay within the atmosphere. When I get close to... oh, just over halfway now. G's still at tolerable threshold. And G's coming down now. Even with all air brakes out. Don't got far to go now. We're almost captured. We're doing good. Oh wow, we're doing quite well. We're captured around Jool. Excellent. Excellent. I'm going to pull the air brakes out here. Now, I'll leave the small ones out. Let's go back to right side up. Oh boy. Now let's skip out of here. We can do the rest of the meters a second traditional in... Oh shoot. No, 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 no. Pulsing those big air brakes to get me down, back down towards that velocity vector. Oh. Come on, get out of the atmosphere now. Using up a bunch of RCS doing all this. Alright, small air brakes out again. See if we can even hit our mark for the maneuver node, all via aerobrake. That would be quite amazing. Not much left to lose. 150 meters per second delta V. Coming up the top edge of the atmosphere now. 10,000 more meters. Oh man, that could not have gone better. Once I'm out of the atmosphere, all I got to do is flip retrograde and burn just 134 meters a second. And then we will have a captured orbit around Jool with a intercept of our target of Laythe. So let's flip around now. We are out of Jool's atmosphere. Flip around, and all we got to do is just burn 133 more meters per second. Here we go. I'm going to leave RCS off to try and... Oh wait, where's the node? We need to point towards the node, not the retrograde. Where is the node? Where is the node? There's the node. Just 93 meters a second left. Go ahead and open back up our radiators. Alright, we're now burning. I've figured out a good maneuver node here, roughly on our ascending node, so we can correct and get on the same inclination as Laythe. And then I'm also burning a little bit retrograde, or is it prograde? I can't remember what I put in. A little bit, yeah, retrograde. So that where we get a Laythe periapsis of 381,000 meters, and once we execute this, we can fine-tune that as to where we can do another aerobrake on Laythe. Laythe's atmosphere is fairly thin. I think the top is around 50 or 38,000, somewhere around there. But we got a long burn here, 7 minutes. Got Jeb just holding me on that maneuver node. That way I can kind of look at things and kind of relax after that fairly stressful aerobrake of Jool. But that was pretty cool. I've never done anything like that before. Well, other than getting into the atmosphere of Laythe on it with a different space plane. But this, I didn't want to try to get in the atmosphere of Jool, of course, because that would mean I would be dead. So it was a big gamble, and fortunately it paid off. One thing I mean, I do kind of like that using this warp drive. It's not, I don't really feel like it's overpowered, because you do have to match velocities eventually when you get to your target orbital body. Have to carry rockets, have to carry a lot of fuel. It can't just be only warp drive. It's I mean, you can do the warp drive only if you just wanted to do flybys. Or you somehow are able to plan things out by just doing aerobrakes everywhere and successfully capture yourself that way. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I think next I'm going to try to, after I get into orbit around Laythe, I'll leave them there for a few days in the orbit or so, and then I'll start working on a space plane with a fusion-powered jet engine, and I want to be able to take one of those to either Eve or Duna. I've never been to those two planets. As to if I'm going to use the warp drive, I'm not sure if I want to. It's almost as taxing trying to figure out how to get into orbit on around another orbital body using the warp drive as it is just using the standard means of rocket engines. So it takes less time, I suppose, maybe with the warp drive, because you can just point and shoot. But so that might be good for Bill and Jeb to get home at a earlier time and date than compared to just using rocket engines. Just keep an eye on that Laythe periapse here. Bottom one is our planned. The top is, of course, our current. I'm actually going to leave it there. All right. Got another ascending node here I could actually add a maneuver to and fix things. Okay, well, on our next ascending node, I planned a maneuver node, or I planned a maneuver to get us an encounter with a periapse to Laythe of 15,000 meters. A good aerobrake. And now I'm just executing that maneuver a little early because my actual node was ahead of the, I guess that's the descending node, I should say. So I'm just doing a slow burn, and I'm watching my true periapsis compared to my planned, and when they meet, I'm going to cut the engines, and then everything else is just going to be getting ready for another aerobrake. Well, that is within the atmosphere of Laythe. There we go. I'm just going to go ahead and stop it there. Okay, so the atmospheric height is actually 55,000 meters. So, not exactly sure on if that height will be too low or not, but we'll find that out soon enough. Quick save, and we'll time compress here and let Laythe catch up to us. come out of the map view here and see if we can find Laythe. There she is. Yes. She's gonna cut right in between us, in between Jool and us. Now we are in the sphere of influence of Laythe, and it is pulling us. See, now that we've actually gotten into the sphere of influence, the information it's giving us is a little more accurate. So what we want to do is plan a maneuver, and we're just going to do, not going to do, well, we could, well, since I'm just going to do an aerobrake, I'm just going to get us, oops, get us the, turn us towards the atmosphere. Do a quick save, and now it's off to the races. Well, let's see, we're almost in orbit. Well, not sure how much we'll have to slow down. Let's take a look on how much we need to actually get orbit. Roughly 1,000 meters a second. Okay. I'll leave that maneuver node up and active so we can see our target and whether or not we need to pull up and get out of there. Speed up just one more time here. Oops. No, we don't want to do that. Alright, here we go. Air brakes out. Let's start slowing down. Nothing's happening. Time to go inverted. Come on, slow down. I want to just keep using that atmosphere and curve us around the planet. Ah, we're already gaining altitude. This is not working. We are losing speed though. It's a very high aerobrake. I should have come down a little lower. But we're doing okay. See if I can get a little sharper. This is quite sharp angle of attack. But we're just wanting to use as much of our surface as a brake as we can. We're not even barely above. We're like half a G deceleration, so not much. And we're pretty much almost out of the atmosphere now. I'm actually going to completely turn around and start burning retrograde even while we're at the upper edge of the atmosphere here, so probably going to have to go back home to Kerbin after this anyway, so might as well use up a little bit of that fuel to help me get into orbit around Laythe here. We're in orbit. We do a high orbit. Yeah, let's come down a little more. Excellent. Wow. Quite the task. But we did it. We're now in orbit. Well, the only thing I gotta do is once I get to my apoapsis, I need to just burn prograde a little bit to get above the atmosphere of Laythe. There she is. The beautiful Laythe. She is quite pretty. Now we're burning to circularize our orbit a little bit here. It's going to be elliptical, but that's fine. It'll give Bill and Jeb and the rest of the crew a chance to look at Laythe from far away and look at Laythe from up close. Plus, they can always change it. They got plenty of fuel. Alright, we've made it. We've reached our goal of achieving orbit around Laythe. Mission complete. Well, not quite complete. They still need to return to Kerbin someday. But they're just going to stay out here and do a bunch of research, and hopefully they don't get... hopefully the crew doesn't get sick of each other while they're here. But they're only a hop, skip, and a jump away from Kerbin, so especially with that warp drive. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed seeing me do some crazy aerobrakeness and orbital transfers around Jool with this mighty fine space plane, if I do say so myself. So, we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.